The Lucy Show begins with Lucy Carmichael once again caught between her everyday reality and her constant desire to step into something bigger, more exciting, and more rewarding. At the start of the episode, Lucy is feeling a mix of boredom and ambition, a combination that almost always leads her into trouble. She becomes fixated on the idea that she is capable of more than her current situation allows, and all she needs is the right opportunity to prove it. This mindset quickly sets the stage for the central conflict of the episode, as Lucy stumbles upon or actively seeks out a new situation that she believes will elevate her status or improve her circumstances. Whether it's a job opportunity, a social event, or a chance to impress someone important, Lucy immediately attaches herself to it with full confidence, convinced that this is her moment to shine. Vivian, as usual, plays the role of the grounded counterpart, expressing doubt and concern about Lucy's sudden enthusiasm. She questions whether Lucy truly understands what she's getting into and warns her about the potential consequences of jumping in without preparation. Lucy, however, is not interested in caution. She sees Vivian's concerns as negativity rather than practicality and insists that sometimes you have to take risks in order to succeed. This difference in perspective highlights one of the core dynamics of the show, Lucy's impulsiveness versus Vivian's realism. As Lucy begins to involve herself more deeply in the situation, it becomes clear that things are not as simple as she initially thought. There are expectations she didn't anticipate, responsibilities she doesn't fully understand, and social cues she misreads. Despite this, Lucy refuses to back down. Instead, she doubles down on her performance, trying to project confidence and competence even as the situation becomes increasingly complicated. This leads to a series of comedic misunderstandings, where Lucy's attempts to keep up appearances only make things worse. She may give the wrong impression to the wrong people, misinterpret instructions, or overcommit to something she cannot realistically handle. Each mistake builds on the last, creating a chain reaction of chaos that slowly spirals out of control. One of the most entertaining aspects of the episode is watching Lucy try to juggle multiple problems at once. As new complications arise, she attempts to fix them individually, but her solutions often conflict with each other, making the overall situation even more unstable. Vivian occasionally steps in to help, offering advice or trying to minimize the damage, but Lucy's determination to handle things her own way often leads her to ignore that help until it's too late. This creates a pattern where Lucy is constantly reacting rather than planning, always one step behind the consequences of her own actions. The midpoint of the episode marks a turning point where Lucy begins to realize that she may be in over her head. There is a brief moment of hesitation, a flicker of doubt where she considers the possibility of stepping back or admitting that she made a mistake. However, this moment passes quickly as Lucy convinces herself that she can still turn things around if she just tries harder. This decision to push forward rather than retreat is what drives the episode into its more chaotic second half. Lucy starts coming up with increasingly creative and desperate ways to maintain control of the situation, often involving quick thinking, improvisation, and a willingness to bend the truth. These efforts lead to some of the most comedic moments in the episode, as Lucy's plans become more elaborate and more fragile at the same time. As the episode builds toward its climax, all of Lucy's separate issues begin to converge. The people she has been trying to impress start to notice inconsistencies, and the pressure on Lucy increases dramatically. This is the moment where everything threatens to collapse, where Lucy's carefully constructed image is on the verge of being exposed. The tension is balanced with humor as Lucy scrambles to keep everything together, moving rapidly from one problem to the next in an attempt to prevent total disaster. Vivian, watching this unfold, becomes both concerned and resigned, clearly aware that Lucy has reached a point where only a miracle or sheer luck can save her. In true Lucy fashion, that miracle comes in the form of a last-minute solution that is as chaotic as the problem itself. Lucy manages to connect the dots between her various mistakes and finds a way to turn them into something that resembles a resolution. It's not a perfect fix, and it relies heavily on timing and coincidence, but it works just enough to prevent complete failure. The climax unfolds quickly, with a series of rapid interactions and near misses that keep the audience engaged and entertained. Lucy's energy is at its peak during this sequence, as she throws everything she has into salvaging the situation. When the dust finally settles, Lucy emerges relatively unscathed, having avoided the worst possible outcome. However, it is clear that her success is more the result of luck than skill, a fact that Vivian is quick to point out. Lucy, on the other hand, interprets the outcome as proof that her instincts were right all along. This difference in interpretation once again highlights the contrast between the two characters, with Lucy focusing on the positive and Vivian emphasizing the reality of how close things came to falling apart. The episode closes with a return to normalcy, but with the understanding that Lucy has not fundamentally changed. She may acknowledge some of her mistakes on the surface, but she does not internalize them in a way that would alter her behavior moving forward. Instead, she carries on with the same confidence and ambition that led her into trouble in the first place. This cyclical pattern is a key part of what makes the show work, as it allows each episode to present a new variation on the same core dynamic without becoming repetitive. On a deeper level, the episode explores themes of identity, ambition, and perception. Lucy's desire to be seen as capable and successful drives her actions, but her approach often undermines her goals. She is caught between who she is and who she wants to be, and much of the comedy comes from the tension between those two versions of herself. At the same time, the episode suggests that there is value in Lucy's determination and willingness to take risks, even if those risks don't always pay off. Her resilience, her ability to recover from mistakes, and her refusal to give up are all qualities that make her both flawed and admirable. Overall, Episode 3 of Season 6 delivers a strong mix of humor, character development, and situational chaos. It builds on the patterns established in previous episodes while introducing new scenarios that keep the story fresh and engaging. Lucy remains the heart of the show, a character whose unpredictability ensures that anything can happen at any moment. Whether she is succeeding or failing, she is always moving forward, driven by a belief in herself that is both inspiring and hilariously misplaced. And that, more than anything, is what makes the episode so entertaining, watching Lucy navigate a world that she never fully understands, yet refuses to back down from, no matter how complicated things become. As the episode continues beyond the immediate resolution of Lucy's chaotic situation, it shifts into a quieter but equally important phase where the emotional and psychological aftermath begins to unfold. Lucy, now back in a more stable environment, starts to process everything that happened, but in her own very selective way. Instead of focusing on the stress, the near failure, or the embarrassment she narrowly avoided, she zooms in on the moments where things seem to work in her favor. In her mind, these moments outweigh all the mistakes, reinforcing her belief that she handled the situation better than anyone expected. This selective memory is not just a comedic trait, but a survival mechanism that allows Lucy to maintain her confidence despite repeated setbacks. Vivian, however, refuses to let Lucy fully rewrite history. She revisits key moments from the situation, breaking them down with clarity and logic, almost like she's presenting evidence in a case against Lucy's version of events. She highlights the risks Lucy took, the misunderstandings she created, and how close everything came to falling apart. Their conversation becomes a layered exchange where humor is mixed with a subtle critique of Lucy's decision-making. Lucy deflects, jokes, and occasionally admits small faults, but she never fully concedes. Instead, she reframes the narrative once again, suggesting that even her mistakes were part of a bigger picture that ultimately led to success. This back and forth dynamic keeps the energy of the episode alive even after the main conflict has passed. As Lucy begins to look ahead, her focus quickly shifts from reflection to anticipation. She starts talking about what she would do differently next time, not in a cautious sense, but in a more ambitious and strategic way. She doesn't see a need to slow down. Instead, she believes she just needs to be smarter and faster. This mindset reveals a key aspect of her character. She is not afraid of failure, but she is also not particularly good at learning from it in a traditional way. Instead of avoiding the same mistakes, she evolves them, often creating even more complex situations in the future. Meanwhile, the supporting characters begin to re-establish their roles in Lucy's world. There is a sense of familiarity returning, but also an underlying awareness that Lucy's presence guarantees that stability is always temporary. People interact with her cautiously, as if they expect another unexpected turn at any moment. This adds